So as regulators, as supervisors, what are some of the things that we could do to protect against made in financial inclusion from the impacts of COVID? The first one is the promoting income protection insurance product for women. We have seen all the impacts that COVID has had on women, especially on their businesses and jobs. And it is important that we look into the issue of income protection um, to protect women because they need the income to take care of the family and the children. And as supervisors, these are we will not be the ones to have to develop the product and put on the market, but we can create the conducive environment, we can create the necessary incentives and start the discussions that will lead to these kinds of products. We can also engage industry and stakeholders on product gaps. We talked about product gaps earlier on. We talked about products which seem to offer certain protections but have very significant gaps in terms of the impact of COVID-19. And these discussions are going on all around the globe. Some of them, as I mentioned earlier, have ended up in court, and some are still being handled by regulators and consumer groups. It is important that as supervisors, we get involved in these discussions and shape the outcomes and see how we could influence the market to get to address some of these gaps so that we have some protection for the vulnerable, especially at their most vulnerable point. Now, consumer education needs to be digitized. We need to look at consumer education in the digitized world, and again, fine-tuned to suit women. We need to conduct targeted digital financial literacy campaigns for women to enable them to understand how they can also make use of these digital financial services. By this, we also will have to work hard as supervisors to address the supervisory barriers created for women. We looked at some indications of gender inequality and their impact on their access to financial services. And we need to take these into account in designing or amending regulatory requirements and financial literacy campaigns to enable women to access digital financial services as well. I have talked about appropriate regulatory framework for digital financial services, taking into account suitable know your customer requirement, AML requirement, ID requirement, collateral requirement for lending. All these need to be taken into account in shaping financial services product so that women can also access these with less hindrances. And of course, it is important for us as regulators to gather, to analyze, and to make available for use gender disaggregated data to enable service providers to design products based on that, to price product based on that, to design distribution channels based on that, to design customer services strategies based on that. So as regulators, we have the capacity and the regulatory power to require information, data, and it will be important to look at some gender disaggregated data to enable decisions to be made to address the gender gap and, of course, the financial inclusion gap as well.